I'm Scott Allen Miller. It is the 17th of July, 2022, and welcome to my vlog of daily life in León, Nicaragua. Today I'm filming on the iPhone 13. It is Sunday. It is super hot. I mentioned yesterday it's going to be 94 yesterday and again today with a feels like temperature of 104. Boiling. So I'm trying not to be outside more than I need to be, and I'm filming this segment tomorrow when it's warm, but not this warm. Today, mostly a relaxing day around the house. It is Sunday, hanging out with the kids, hanging out with the dogs, and doing quite a bit of video editing. One of the things I'm excited about today is that for the first time ever, I'm trying out some expanded materials for Final Cut Pro. I got a couple packs from Motion VFX. I'm not saying that I love them or don't like them. I decided a lot of people on YouTube spoke highly of them. I saw some good material. I saw some things that specifically look like they would be right for the show, so I'm giving it a try. Picked up the Travel 1 and Travel 2 packs, the M Travel and M Travel 2, in case you ever want to look and see what I'm using. And I want to try experimenting with it. If I really like this, I may get more from Motion VFX or try out some other vendors, but I needed to start somewhere. And as many of you know, while I've been doing photography and filmography for a very long time, editing is a relatively new thing for me, and editing in a serious way is very new, and editing using expensive tools like Final Cut Pro where you can go buy collateral like this is completely new to me. So there's a lot of learning curve of the material of the actual tools, but there's also so one of the ways that people use this is by buying these additional or finding these additional add-ons that I have not been experimenting with up until now. But the show is taking off. There's so much more going on. It's time to up the game a little bit, so I'm experimenting with that a bit today, and at first glance, so far, very impressed. So I'm happy to have these new things to play with, and I hope that you guys like them too. Very specifically, the biggest thing that I was looking for is getting mapping capabilities, because I do some maps on the show and they're very basic, and it leaves a lot to be desired. I wanted to be able to bring a lot more to the show for you guys. I like how it looks having much more modern maps and such, so very excited to have that. Other than that, today mostly just hung out with the kids. We watched a lot of TV together, and individually they played some video games, but not a ton. And then last night, Luciana and I went to the grocery store. I mentioned that. While I was there, I did some filming. And then today, I went to the grocery store just because Lisa wanted some tomatoes for tacos this afternoon. So I made tacos and went and got fresh tomatoes. When I went to the grocery store, I took some filming again today. I got a request here on the channel for me to do some analysis of grocery prices between Nicaragua and the United States. Now, I haven't been in the United States grocery shopping. I've been there, but I have not been there grocery shopping for probably a year and a half. And even then, I wasn't a big grocery shopper. My wife did most of the grocery shopping, or Paul did. So I'm not real familiar with prices in the U.S. And even if I was, inflation is really big in the U.S. right now. So the prices, especially of food items, is changing very rapidly. So I'm not going to even attempt to do any analysis of what prices are like in the US. What I am going to do is show you a bunch of prices of things here in Nicaragua so that you can at least figure out what they cost here, and you can do your own analysis from wherever you're coming from. Now, all of the prices you're going to see in the grocery store are in Cordoba. That is roughly 35 to the dollar. So if you see something for 35 Cordoba, that's $1. 70 Cordoba, $2. 105, $3. 140, $4. 350, $10. You get used to it really quickly. And by using Cordobas, you typically get the best prices. The store that I'm going to show you is La Colonia. This is a premium grocery store. It is at the top of the market. So these are generally the highest prices you're likely to encounter when in Nicaragua. Could you find higher? I'm sure. But can you find lower? Absolutely. Even within our neighborhood, we have Walmart-owned stores like Pali and Maxi Pali, what are basically Walmart neighborhood food markets. They're going to be just a tad lower. We have La Union, which is basically the same prices, but you never know where you're going to find a little bit better deal on an individual item, but it's also a premium grocery store. We have Costco. It's called PriceSmart here, but it's basically the same as Costco in the United States, so pay in cash, buy bulk, but you get really good prices. And then, of course, we have smaller grocery stores. We have street markets. We have the vendors that just sell out of stalls, and that's where you're going to get your best prices, but it also takes the most work. You're going to have to put in a lot more effort. You may have to haggle, but you also, they don't have any employees. You're outdoors. Here at La Colonia, it's all air conditioned and absolutely gorgeous and very, very nice. So you kind of get to pick your experience. But I wanted to show La Colonia because this is the most similar to an American shopping experience, and I think most expats are going to go shop at La Colonia. Everyone I know shops at La Colonia, so it's worth using that as the analysis. But this is not a low-end bargain place. This is the top of the market as far as fancy. It's also worth noting products are going to be wildly different as to what is and isn't expensive. In the United States, you're going to find things like American-made cereals are relatively cheap. Here, those American-made cereals are going to be very expensive because distant boxed products being shipped in, costly. But things that come from here, pineapples and papaya and stuff like that, super cheap. So you're going to see the mix of things being very different. So it's not just that the prices are higher or lower. The things that are expensive or cheap are going to change. Strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, very expensive here, but pineapple, guava, papaya, cantaloupe, those things are very cheap. Yeah, watermelon everywhere. So just understanding that there's going to be very differences in prices. If you want to completely replicate your American diet here, you're going to pay some premium for that. And if you are willing to adapt to the local market, you are going to get a lot of discount for that. Overall, I think you'll find that the prices are lower, but prepared foods are going to be a little bit higher. So with that said, let's head to the grocery store and check out some prices. All right, so this is La Colonia. This is in Zaragoza in León, Nicaragua. We're going to go inside, got the produce here, and we're going to take a look at what we've got for bread. We're going to start with hamburger buns, which are 62 quart or $1.73. Regular loaf of bread here at 74 quart or $2.06. This is pretty indicative of the bread. You've got a little bit of range of the Vita, a bit more expensive, but still very close, maybe $2.50. Here is the standard tortillas, also from Bimbo. Whole wheat, $1.24. White tortillas, $1.16. A little bit of produce. It's hard to read the prices and hard to give you because it's by weight, so it's hard to do really quickly. These fresh breads under $1, some of them way under $1 every day. Those are normal prices. And we're going to see toothpaste. Again, lots of different prices, but Colgate total came out to $2.43. We have a number of shampoos that we're going to look at here in a second, and very hard to come up with a standard price, but some of those up at the top that you see there, that came out to $4.20. That kind of fell in the middle. There's some that are really cheap for like 89 cord there, but most of the ones you're going to want to get just a little bit more expensive, so in the $4 range. Ranchitos are the standard. This is instead of Doritos here, and actually I think they're way better. $1.12, and Mucho Nacho is $2.09, brought in from Guatemala. These are cookies. There's a big selection. Most of them are either a little bit under $1 or heading up towards $2. They're not the biggest packages, and it's very hard to get the prices off of these quickly in the video, so sorry about that, but it does give you a little bit of an idea. Yogurt, big thing. Lots of great yogurt options. I'm going to show Yes Yogurt. This is my personal favorite. Their standard everyday yogurt is, you can see there, 24 cord, which comes out to 67 cents. And you can see it's a little bit over $1 for the Greek yogurt from the same vendor. So maybe $1.10, $1.20. We're also going to see a bunch of dairy dips here in a second. There's always a whole bin of them. All of them are $2.22, so not bad at all. And this is an assortment of things. There's cheddar cheese and herb and onion and those kinds of things that you would use with chips or bread or crackers. Mayonnaise, roughly $3 for those large bags. So it's a little bit smaller than what we get in the US typically, but a much more convenient packaging or much more ecologically sound packaging. A lot of the cheese comes in from the United States, so these are actually quite expensive. Making cheese here is difficult. So these are actually $5.72 for each bag. So that's pretty high, but that's just one of the things we have to pay extra for. Also imported are cereals. The ones from Europe came out to about $4.32. That's the Nestle's. And those from the United States were about $4.91, almost $5 for a standard box. All right, I hope you found all of that useful. I know it wasn't a lot, but it's very hard to show, and I'm not exactly sure what numbers to provide for you, but I kind of gave a survey. Milk is one thing I would like to have gotten, and milk is very different here, and I should do an entire episode on how milk works. It is affordable. It's not like it's super high price, but it is very different. It's ultra high temperature pasteurized. It's shelf stable, so it's a different animal than how we are used to purchasing milk in the United States. But overall, looking at all those products, I tried to do a little bit of online research for the absolute current prices in the US, but of course, I'm just looking at like Amazon, so that may be misleading, either high or low. But in general, I'm finding that a lot of the stuff here in Nicaragua currently is pretty much in line. And some of the things I thought were going to be wildly more expensive are actually potentially really close within, say, like the boxes of cereal seem to be within about 50 cents of the best I could find, and a couple dollars shy of some of the higher prices, all just on Amazon. Whereas a lot of the other things are definitely cheaper here. Currently, because we don't have the rampant inflation here in Nicaragua, because we don't have logistical supply chain issues, and because a lot of our food is produced locally, Nicaragua is actually a food independent nation. So they call it food sovereignty or something like that. And it's one of the very few markets in the world that's able to produce enough food to cover all of the bases. It doesn't have to import anything. Of course, it does, but it doesn't need to. And the ports are still open and flowing freely. There aren't any of those kinds of issues. So the logistical costs and complications facing a lot of the world right now are not actually happening here. And so, in many ways, inflation is staying down, and the cost of consumable goods like food is staying pretty much where it was. Whereas in a lot of places, it is rising right now. And of course, some things are going to rise worldwide. Wheat and bread prices, for example, are expected to keep going up for quite some time, given world events, mostly in Europe. But overall, we're more insulated here from rising food prices around the globe. So I hope that was helpful. Of course, under other circumstances, prices fluctuate differently country to country. But in general, having lived in the region over a long period of time, we have always found Panama to be much more expensive than the United States for most food items. Obviously not some things produced locally, fruits, for example, but in general, quite expensive. So when we lived in Spain, that was probably the lowest cost. And here in Nicaragua, we see costs that are below that of the U.S., but not as dramatically low as we found to be in Spain when we lived there in 2015. Thanks for joining me. Remember to like and subscribe. Ask your questions below. Things like this, give me projects to go out and do, is kind of awesome. It gives me a focus and a reason to go do a specific thing. So that works out. If there's specific prices you'd like some information on here, let me know. Some things are pretty difficult, like meat, because you're less comparing actual market prices and more comparing very specific farms or qualities or cuts. But things like loaves of bread, especially Bimbo products, because they are made locally here and in Mexico and in the United States and in Western Europe, right? They're everywhere, and in Ukraine, right? All those places have Bimbo local factories. So we're comparing apples to apples much more so than other things. Similarly, a 2-liter bottle of Coca-Cola would be the same animal market to market, which, by the way, I believe it's about $1.05 here in the supermarket. We actually pay a little bit less when we get it at the pulperias on the street. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you all tomorrow.